Hey, this is Max at 343 Labs. We're a music production school based in New York City, Berlin, and online. And today I'd like to show you a clip by one of our instructors, John Selway, which is taken from 343 TV, which airs right here on our channel several days per week. Now, if you want to watch the full stream, head over to studio.343labs.com, the link in the description, which is our new producer hub where you can meet other producers, get free content, collaborate, and get feedback on your music. Enjoy the clip.
So we're going to load up Pigments here. And I'll go ahead and make a new preset, and that's going to give me a sine wave. And already, if you go to the keyboard tab here where it says tuning, under default microtuning, right here, this is where you choose your tuning. And it has some presets built in. Default is chromatic. And then we have some other choices here. Right, so default. All right, but then if I change that to, zoom out a little bit, for TET. Right, so I'm playing an octave now. Let's see what that looks like. Right now I'm just playing white notes, right? So it would be a C major scale. Let's hear what it sounds like if I play chromatically. So it's dividing up the scale differently, and you may have more or fewer notes in an octave or so on. Again, I'm not going to go into all the details of sort of, I don't know, the math behind it or the concepts behind how these scales are created. We're just using our ears and listening to what they sound like for now. All right. We also have this one, Correct. And this one sounds almost normal. But you can hear there's some little bit of microtuning difference. And scale, so this is like, you know, an alternate to your typical chromatic scale. You can hear that sounds totally different. If I play, let's go back to the default. Right, there's your tempered chromatic scale. And here's this correct alteration. It sounds sharper and a little bit off. So that could be interesting. Like you can play normal chromatic based scales and harmonies. It'll just have this little bit of an off, unusual feeling to it. And then, I don't know, someone asked about Indian scales before. Here's one. And that's interesting because, you know, it sounds more harmonic, right? It doesn't sound like notes are weird out of tune or anything like that. Right, and actually, you can play, you know, intervals and chords that you know, and depending on what they are, they still kind of work a little bit. I mean, keeping in mind that traditional sort of Indian classical music doesn't really have chords. It's all melody, you know, layers of melody overlapping. That's a really nice, you're just playing the white keys and that sounds like a really nice melody. That's interesting. Off topic, but I'll answer. Sushant Sethi, I've seen you here before. Welcome back. Which headphones am I using? These are Bear Dynamic DT880s. They're the semi-open, and I think they're the A80 Pro, and I really like them a lot. And when I'm mixing, I use SonarWorks correction to make them more flat. I really like them. I just realized, okay, back to the live screen here. Now, so these are the defaults or the preset alternative tunings, but you can also load up a .tun file or a .scl file. So scl is Scala or Scala, and that's what I did. All right, so I'm going to click load and then browse to where I saved the Kulundi Scala file. In here somewhere. There it is. All right, double click. And some of these scales will specify a reference note or a bass note. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's A3 or A4. It's okay though. It's just going to shift it up and down or an octave, whether it's A3 or A4. But that doesn't matter too much unless you're using multiple different, like if I had multiple plugins that were all referencing the same Scala file, in order for them to be correct with each other, they all need to have the same reference note. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Again, watch those videos that I pointed out earlier to get the real skinny on sort of the more details about everything. We're just experimenting today. All right, so now that I have that loaded up, and this is a really strange collection of frequencies. I found it a little bit difficult to get started with being musical with this, right? So this octave that I'm in down here, it's like this is really microtonal. These are very small steps. And then there's a big jump and some more small steps. Right? So, and then as I go up, you'll hear sort of, and this is by design, I'm not exactly sure why these frequencies are the way they are, but you will hear sort of odd jumps. Sometimes you'll hear very tiny microtonal increments, and sometimes you'll hear larger intervals happening. Let's go down lower. And then you can really, it's interesting when you just make really large jumps and intervals. Like if you're playing what looks like fifths and octaves to you, that's where you get the interesting stuff. So if you were just drawing these notes in, you want to zoom out a little bit. See what I mean? So I'm making big jumps, but I'm hearing sort of different intervals. I'm not hearing ninths and tenths and 11ths and 12ths. I'm hearing weird intervals that don't exist in the regular chromatic scale. What does that sound like, I wonder? Okay. Let's repeat that. Just put a beat on that and we're there. What happens if I bring that down? I like it better low. And we can start playing around with small differences in between each note. So you're already inhabiting this unusual harmonic space. I think you could just keep it this simple with the sine wave and then play around with subtlety in how the sound is modulated. And this is kind of where I started out with my other sounds. I started out with the sine wave and then I introduced some FM synthesis to it. And I went, I was careful about the envelope shape, making a little bit percussive. And of course, when you're using FM, you can detune the modulating oscillator and introduce inharmonic frequencies inside of the note, which is also sort of inharmonic because it's you're hearing different notes sort of out of tune with each other, and I think it works really well. Let's try and transpose this up. And that's kind of what I was doing with the keyboard before, controlling the transposition of the sequencer. And I'm getting microtonal melodic variation, transposing the whole sequence up and down. I feel like doing these alternative tunings work more easily with pure sounds. When I was playing around with this before, where I was just loading up presets and seeing what they sounded like, and the ones that worked were either that worked more easily, were more pure, more clear sounds, bell sounds, string sounds that aren't too modulated, things like that. Again, like, I like you, and I think that's one of the things about Alexei Perala, like, is a lot of his main lead sounds are very like clean, clear waveforms, and the detail is in the unusual tuning and the complexity of the sequence. I think that's like the first thing that makes it work really, really well.
I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you want to watch the full stream, head over to studio.343labs.com, link in the description below. And that is our new producer hub where you can find free content, collaborate with other musicians, get feedback on your music, and just meet a community of like-minded artists and producers. See you next time.